I don't know if you're really ready for this video, but today we're going to talk about Pluto through the houses 9 through 12, and it is no small subject. Strap yourself in with me and let's go for this ride. Now listen to me, even if you don't have Pluto in the 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th house, if you have prominent planets, personal planets, that's the moon, sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, or if this is also where you have Jupiter, I want you to listen to that house that you have those planets in, because I'm going to give you the shadow side, I'm going to give you the dark side, I'm going to give you the karmic transformational lesson and the psychological wound that lives in each one of these houses. So I also want you to go look at your loved ones and see where their Pluto is. And if it's in one of these houses, listen to this video. This might be one of the most important videos on my channel that you could possibly listen to, because we're going to go into the raw, the gritty, the deep truth of Pluto through these houses. And like I said, not just Pluto. This will apply to you. You'll feel like you can relate to this if you have those other planets or if you have a stellium in those houses. I'll also say that if your south node is in one of these houses, this video is just so critical. So let's talk about this. If you've got Pluto in the 9th house, you're a person who has a really deep philosopher's mind, and you probably can feel it. You probably ask the bigger questions in life. You're a person who has incarnated into many different cultures, many different time periods, and many different religions. You've probably been different races or ethnic backgrounds. You most likely have a fascination with the world in all of its colors and all of its customs. Probably have a fascination with all the different countries that make up our world. You love to learn about life through the lens of multiculturalism. And if you have this placement, you'll be working in this lifetime with the belief systems that you have developed over lifetimes upon lifetimes. You will be preoccupied with your search for the truth about the meaning of life. And Pluto will have you on a deep and bold crusade around figuring out these very things in this lifetime. Because you had so many incarnations with so many different backgrounds, you might feel like in this lifetime you don't quite fit into the culture in which you grew up in. You might feel like it's a little too small, or it's a little too stifling, or you may feel that the doctrines in which your parents raised you in or asked you to obey are just too rigid. You may feel that your customs, your culture, your religion, or the laws that govern you, if you will, the laws that come from your family, the rules, or from society or just culture, don't actually align with your belief system anymore. Maybe they once did, maybe they never did, but you outgrew them. And maybe your family was even too devoted in their religion, and it just doesn't feel right any longer for you. Maybe your family was poor and had a mentality that we don't deserve prosperity, or we don't know how to create prosperity. So you had to break away from that mentality that was trying to indoctrinate you or govern you so you could go find your own riches. Maybe your community or your family or your society did not offer you an education that your soul desired. Maybe you were a woman and you were born into a family where the boys got more than the girls. Something like this. I don't know how exactly it shook out, but it is something along these lines. And leave me a comment below if you don't mind telling me, what is it that you had to break free from? I want to ask you the very important question. And this is it. What did your family believe in, and they wanted you to believe in it too? Was it a religion? Was it a political position? Was it a certain type of education? What rule was it? Was it a type of work? Was it an arranged marriage? Was it veganism? What was it? Chances are that you came from a family or a society that told you how life was supposed to be done, and it was misaligned with your own deeper truths that eventually surfaced or you eventually became aware of. And I want to know, how long did you spend inside their belief system before you broke away? With Pluto here, it tells us that a belief system was thrust upon you and it really messed you up. And if you can't relate to this, this usually happens in your younger years, 0 to 14. But if you can't relate to this, then this is what your karma is in this lifetime. And you have spent previous lifetimes on this theme, and you became cynical and skeptical around your society's or your family's belief system, and you most likely either wanted to or want to leave it behind. And in fact, you probably have already left it behind if you're watching this video and if you're older than 14 years old. With Pluto here, you might find that there is this great chance that you need to leave your family, your community, or your society behind in order to find a more expansive environment to quench your soul's desire. You might need to leave to find more meaningful opportunities. Can you relate to this? And you most likely will want to or will need to travel away to faraway lands. Oftentimes with Pluto in the ninth, there's some sort of multicultural or multi-continent aspect to these people's lives. And you might find that your soul quest takes you to faraway lands, faraway cultures, and faraway customs. In the extreme, some people are going to experience leaving their community or their social tribe, if they will, is actually really excruciatingly painful. And one can literally feel kicked out of their own world or their own community, their own religion, their own society, or their own house. They can feel like they are aimless. They don't know where to go or what to do, like a wanderer, never really finding that place called home, always in search of home, never finding it, and feeling really alienated and even lost. And they can also feel like they don't know where they fit in. They can't find contentment. And also in the extreme darkness of Pluto, now not everybody's going to feel this, but some will. If they never can evolve or transform from their energy of needing to go on a quest, needing to search, endless searching, never finding a contentment within. And if they can't transform sort of this longing need, this giant longing need, they can even develop sort of a criminal mind on the run. And that's at the extreme. But I like to tell you guys about the extremes. And they can find themselves living like even giving up a whole moral compass. And they can find themselves kind of feeling homeless or just roaming about, couch surfing with just the items that they can carry on their back. And so these people can feel like they're just constantly living in perpetual motion or life on the run, always in search of the next meaningful thing, the next adventure, never feeling satisfied. And we have another element to Pluto in the ninth here, and that's this. While on the serious quest for the meaning of life, right, these people can become deeply indoctrinated into their truth. And they can find their truth is vastly different from the truth that they grew up in, only to become fanatical about their own truth. And then they start ironically pushing that and selling that onto others, saying, my way is the right way, your way is the wrong way. And they can become extremely dogmatic, preaching and teaching from the pulpit, becoming arrogant in what they believe in now. And the truths, the new truths, the more expansive truths, the better truths that they have found, only to regenerate the very thing, the very place, the very way in which they came from. So they can become these rabid zealots trying to get you to believe what they've come to know is the higher truth. They sort of feel that on their search for the holy grail of life, if you will, when they find it, that they want to convince others to join in their new belief system as well, or just their belief system. And they can become kind of crazed and bossy and even extreme in their beliefs, that they can become quite convincing of them. Think of how basically every single war that has ever been created started with a belief system that went into the extreme. Yeah, that can be this placement. If Pluto isn't dealt with in the ninth house, in a well-managed way with some objectivity. These people who are really born to be visionary leaders can turn into fascist, fanatical, cult-like power monger leaders, and the effects on this can be devastating. Now, I am confident this isn't you because you're watching this video and you are obviously a more enlightened person just because you want to glean a self-awareness. But maybe on some smaller scale, this has played out in your life. Maybe you're one of the good guys who had to leave a limiting and a cruel belief system behind before it destroyed you. What did you have to escape? And maybe because you left, you were never, ever invited back again. Perhaps you're on a quest to find a higher truth. Perhaps that's why you're here. And this may have taken root in you so profoundly, so massively, because you were so extremely dissatisfied and maybe even devastated with your current spiritual findings or those that were placed upon you, those beliefs that you were told to believe. So there is tremendous opportunity for enlightenment with Pluto in the 9th house, as long as you don't repeat what has been done unto you with a new face. Now, in order for you to heal, you have to travel well beyond where you came from. That doesn't mean you can't return to where you have been. I don't have this placement, but I traveled around the world by myself twice, only to come back home and cherish, finally be able to cherish what my parents gave me and what home gave me. But I had to leave to understand the value of it. And you can do this literally by heading out on your journey across the vast land and the oceans, by educating yourself about life and people and the meaning of life, the meaning of our existence. Either way, you're going to have to push past the limitations that were placed upon you in early life. So who or what tried to limit you? Will you leave a comment below? Let us know so we can learn. We learn so much from the stories in the comments. Many of you will return, like I did, with new definitions and understandings about yourself and about the meaning of life and about humanity and about people. It's almost like you will understand the sociology aspect of life by traveling. Traveling will be your best education with Pluto in the 9th. And other people who have this placement will never return back to their limitedness, the life that was so repressive and oppressive and quite frankly, soul crushing, just soul crushing. Is this you? Do you want to return back to your roots? And if you do you have a lot of 4th house placements? Or will you forever have left your home, never to return? Which camp do you fall in? And this is hard. This is very painful if you really try this on. Resurrecting your faith is the critical piece of healing this psychological wound. It's important to believe in something, to have faith, because these people lost faith, had a loss of faith. That kind of faith, religious faith, and faith in life, and faith in the people who were teaching them. So your great teachers taught you something that no longer fit for you. Your great remedy to find your highest calling is in resurrecting your faith in something, some belief system again. And what is that? How did it change for you? Please let us know. This is a very philosophical placement, and this is no small answer to this question. I'm asking a really big question. And by the way, I want to tell you, thank you all for subscribing. I am so grateful. And for all my super supporters and my superstar supporters, I am so excited for my free members only astrology party coming up. If you haven't gotten your ticket, please go get your ticket. It's coming up the first weekend in August. We're going to have a blast. And if you haven't joined, know that you can. And there's tons of free perks that you get by being a member. And there's 2 different levels. So just go check out the link in the notes section and you can see everything that you get. But I just wanted to sprinkle a little love and say thank you to all my members on this channel. And I love that you want to learn real astrology through my behind the scenes members only videos. Look for my Pluto readings that I'm going to be doing for my members only. They're coming up. Okay, Pluto in the 10th house. Now, if you have watched my videos at length, you know that I call this the 10th house, Beethoven's house, right? Why? Because I see this house as your great mission in life, your great work, your place in society. This is your house where you will build your legacy, the meaningful thing about you that lives longer than your years as a body and soul on earth. Just like how you and I know hundreds of years after Beethoven's death, we can both listen to Beethoven's music if we want to right this minute. He accomplished this great mission in life. Maybe he didn't even live to know it. And he left this great, beautiful, big, vibrant legacy behind him. He transcended his earthbound existence. And if you really, really try that on, you can see how powerful that is. Now, if you have a lot of planets in the 10th house, you are going to be able to relate to this, even if you have your sun in the 10th house, just your sun or just your moon, because those are our most personal planets. But I am speaking specifically about Pluto in the 10th, but I want you to listen to this if you've got a lot of 10th house placements. Whenever we talk about Pluto, we get a little bit sad. We get a little melancholy. Wah, wah. We get a little dark. We get deep, we get raw, and we get real. Something is challenging us. With Pluto here, there's this deep, great desire inside of you to create something really meaningful here on Earth. Now, a lot of astrologers are going to call this the house of your career, your job. Over time, I have come to understand that it is so much more than that. I want you to go look at the 6th house and look at your 6th house placements and go listen to my Pluto in the 6th in my part 2 video to see your work, your daily grind, your daily duties. And then I want you to look to this house, the 10th house, to see how the world will view your work and what you actually do with your 6th house talents. With Pluto here, this can sometimes indicate a person who has had so many previous lifetimes where they were extraordinarily powerful, where they had great status in their community and in their world and in their place in society, where they may have even been famous, renowned, well-known, respected, and maybe even feared. Yeah, like Julius Caesar. They may have been doted on, well-served, well-regarded, and even idolized. Am I speaking to you? You might have been worshipped, literally worshipped. You might have been very powerful, domineering, commanding, and even entitled with success from a strong and very powerful bloodline, right? You might have had lifetimes of that conditioning. When that theme is not quite playing out in this lifetime, when that's not happening, like, hey, where's the power? Where's my fame? Where's my fortune? Where's my lottery ticket? Woo, where's my success? When that's not happening, it can feel deep inside like an enormous loss. It can feel like, why am I missing my calling? Why am I know I have a greatness inside of me. Why can't I access it? It's like a door with no knob. If you have Pluto in the 10th, you've got two things happening. One, you know there's a greatness in here. You know that you're supposed to create something massively meaningful. You might even have a feeling, an instinct that you're supposed to be known or renowned or respected in a large way. But for some reason, with Pluto there, you can't quite capture that kind of power. It's like you've gone fishing and there's no fish. You can't quite have that thing that you know is inside of you, or the thing you know you deserve, but you don't quite know why. And it's baffling and it's painful. And it can result in you feeling like you're failing or like you're an utter failure in this lifetime. And you can feel really guilty for not living up to either your own standards or your own gut feeling or your family's standards or what you believe the expectations of you are, or the patriarchal's expectation of you. Does your father say you need to be something? Did your grandfather, pass something down? This is a patriarchal placement, by the way. With family systems the way they are, you might come from a single mom, and so she could be found in this house because she's a mom dad. Like, I'm a mom dad to my kid. You'll find me in her chart in both the 4th house and the 10th house because I was a single parent, only child, only parent. This can be some moms, but this is usually the patriarchy. This is the person who's the boss of you. Okay, so that could be the government, that could be the military, that could be your grandfather, that could be your father, that could be your parents. Yeah. With Pluto here, something went wrong or awry with your higher calling. Now think about that. That's painful. What happened? Did you have a family that didn't support your dream or your desire? Did you not receive the opportunities to cultivate that dream or desire? Did you cave in on too much pressure? Did you come from small-minded parents that didn't believe in the things you wanted to pursue? In what way did you experience your dreams being squashed, doing what you wanted, doing your gifts, stepping into your calling? How was that not a possibility for you? Why was that not a possibility? Can you tell us? Can you tell us about the circumstances? Oftentimes these people grew up with very cold or strict or restrictive or even cynical parents or society or fathers or men in their life. Maybe they even came from judgmental parents or society. They couldn't go against culture or society, what the church says or what custom says. They didn't feel like, usually these people, tell me if this is true, you didn't feel like you could live up to the expectations of the people that were dominant in your life. So your calling got sidelined somehow, probably to do something more grounded or respectable or respected or predictable or less risky. You were probably encouraged to do something that would meet the expectations of those who placed them upon you. Can you relate to this? And this made you feel guilty, wanting to express that you felt guilt around wanting to express the bigger dream that lived inside of you. And many of you, and did you give up their dream to meet the expectations of those who were the boss of you? Try on the pain of not being able to do your desire. Imagine wanting to be a doctor and not having a school or not being able to afford the loans to go to a school to become a doctor. You give that dream up and you go out into the world, and instead you become a waitress or you work at the bank as a teller. Yeah. Can you feel the pain that must live inside of that person? Did you not receive the support of your parents to step into your higher destiny? Did you feel sabotaged by their more conservative or safe approach to life? Or did you feel sabotaged just by the necessity of who you had to be? Maybe you're not even mad at anybody. I don't want you to be mad at anybody, but life circumstances made you thwart your own inner power in some way. Did you feel limited? Did you feel so limited and you lived in such a secret fear that you were in fact going to miss your calling, your greatness? Were you a woman born in the 1950s trying unsuccessfully to break the glass ceiling? Were you a certain race that was punished just for being the color of your skin and you were not given opportunities to be what you wanted to be? Were you held back in subordinate positions due to your culture's cruel belief system about hierarchy and ethnicity? Do tell me what held you back from pursuing the gifts that wanted to eventually turn into your powerful legacy. Break my heart in the comments below. But we're not going to stop there because there's hope. I want to know what reality threatened this greatness being shared by you to the world. Also, this is a very serious question for you. For anybody who has a lot of 10th house planets, but especially Pluto. Was it actually just your own self sabotaging this opportunity out of fear of failure? Was it too hard to try? Was it too dangerous, too expensive, too risky, too frightening, too burdensome, too impractical, too unsafe? Were you the saboteur, or was it something outside of yourself? Tell me, share with us. Let us learn from you. If this is your placement, there is a great transformation that wants to take place. I want you to shove off, after you become aware of the reason why this repression in you occurred, after you get real about what that was, I want you to shove it away. You know why? Because it's not important. It was supposed to happen. Why? Because you're being tested around how bad do you want it. You're being tested for hard work and for resiliency and for tenacity and for resourcefulness, for thirst and hunger. How hungry are you? Because if it wasn't going to be your parents, it would be your grandparents. If it wasn't your grandparents, it would have been society. If it wasn't society, it would have been you. Because this is part of the lesson. This is what you're going to grow yourself from. Stand in your gutsy power. After your power, right, was squashed. Don't stand in the excuse. If you stand in the excuse forever that my parents didn't let me, that we didn't have enough money, that I had to give up my dream, your soul won't forgive you. Stand in the courage, leaning into your true gifts and put them in the limelight and into the world. It doesn't have to be Beethoven for you to be great. All it has to be is you being authentically you. And then put that into the world. Get in touch with that dream inside of you. Go resurrect that dream that lived inside of you and do it in some way, shape, or form. My mom always wanted to play the piano. She became an intellect instead. She got her PhD and she started changing the world through her mind. When she turned about 73 years old, I went over to her house and she had a little keyboard that she bought herself. And she started taking music lessons from Peter. And I'd go over there and she was like, do you want to hear my new song? I said, what song? She goes, sit down. And she started playing the piano. She said, I always wanted to play the piano, but my parents never encouraged it. And I was always too busy. And I always had so many other things to do. So I thought I'd try. She's 73 years old. Do you know who she plays for? Us. That's all. And it feels good. She captured one of those gifts, one of those things that was sort of stolen from her at 73 years old. It doesn't have to be greatness, but it is something that I'll remember her by, that she tackled something brand new at 73. Don't let that be you. Do it before 73. With this placement of Pluto there, you're not supposed to keep your gifts to yourself. You're supposed to share it with the world. Put it into the light. If you have this placement, first remember you chose this karmic lesson and it's to help you mature and grow your wisdom. This is a wisdom placement, and to become self-disciplined in knowing what you want and then doing whatever it takes to build it, to grow it, to achieve it, to do it, to put it out there, to share it. You come from lifetimes of disempowerment, and in this lifetime, you will grow your greatness. However, be aware, earth signs are workaholics. They do it in different ways. And Capricorn specifically does workaholicism for ambition, for power, for status, for success, for achievement, a desire to be dominant in their field. And they usually do. They do it from a drive inside of them. Tell me if you can relate to this. You usually will become a hardworking person who gets addicted to your success or your career because it comes from a place that says, no matter what I do not fail, because if I fail, that is the death of me. That is unacceptable. Yes, you say some version of that to yourself. Can you relate? Please tell me, can you relate? I want to know. This is a very difficult placement because you'll find that the power inside of you to become a great version of yourself and share it with the world, you'll find it, but it comes through the gates of total disempowerment and the fear of that very submission of total powerlessness in this lifetime. So there's a fear of not having any power. So therefore, you kind of say, I'll be damned. And that's what motivates you to be powerful and successful. So this is painful. It's not like it was a straight road, like, oh, you're so great, go be that. And then you found your power. Now that can happen for some people who sort of probably already paid the price in last lifetimes. It's like you need that scary feeling or that feeling of powerlessness in order to catapult you into your greatness. And that's the great irony. Now, let me talk about a little different expression of this placement and another phenomenon that can and probably should happen. So look at the charts of the people that you know and see who has Pluto in the 10th house and see if this resonates. When the Pluto in the 10th house person realizes that there is a totally different kind of success that actually is the most important kind of success for them to heal. It's a different kind than what society or the patriarchy told you to go out and get. It's the kind of power that can be found in the 4th house, their polarity point. Now listen to me, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. I don't know if this is the first time you've met me, but I have hundreds of deep videos about astrology on my channel, so go check them all out. And if you are interested in Pluto in the 10th, I want you to go watch my Capricorn playlist. And by the way, if you had Pluto in the 9th, I hope you'll go watch my Sagittarius playlist. But listen to me, as an evolutionary astrologer, we work with polarity points. For Pluto, we work with the polarity point of wherever you have Pluto to heal yourself. So we look to the 4th house. And when the Pluto in the 10th house person realizes there's greatness and there's power from the 4th house, it's a different kind of power. It is the power of emotional security from within. It is the power of loving another so deeply. It is the power of the exchange of nurturance, of unconditional love. And when love becomes more important than status and money, or when you can combine the two, I work to provide, I work to care, right? And when you get off of society's manufactured hierarchical order and you find the success from a deeper, more authentic place within and a place of truly loving yourself and loving others, you become free. You get off that rat race. You get off the gerbil wheel and just doing expectations. So going deep within and being authentic and true to yourself, nurturing yourself through building a legacy that you feel passionate about and not being swayed from that place within, that is your healing remedy. That's when your highest calling can truly be born. Look at Beethoven. He loved his work. It wasn't even work. I love my work. I'm a workaholic. I don't consider this work. This is my passion that I've turned into work. That's what I mean when I say combine the 4th house to the 10th. Will you do that? I hope so. And you guys, if you want to learn more, I highly recommend that you go get my starter package. You'll get your deep dive natal report and your gorgeous natal chart emailed to you. And if you've already done that, you can get my Astro Gold package. It is amazing. Also, what I want to recommend you do is get my solar return report on your birthday so you can understand how this whole year is going to unfold for you. It's one of the best reports I offer. It is so wonderful. You can just go to my website and click on the shop tab, and that's all in the notes below. But I want you to stay on this journey and learn more about all your placements and read about you specifically through the reports. I didn't write them personally, but I selected them and I selected the best on the market and I sell them through my shop. And I sell them at an affordable price so everybody can learn more about themselves deeply. Okay, let's talk about Pluto in the 11th house. These are the souls that absolutely have to break free from the chains that have bound them to conform for lifetimes. They've spent lifetimes being bound to groups, to organizations. In this lifetime, these souls are sort of the mavericks that refuse to be imprisoned by social confines that have been taught to them in their early childhood up to age 14 or from previous past lives. They want to separate from their past. So if you can't relate to wanting to separate from your childhood, you might just have a little bit of a rebellious desire because you felt imprisoned in your previous lifetimes. These people feel probably that their upbringing just no longer feels right to them. It doesn't feel authentic to them anymore. They've outgrown it in some way. That's one possibility. They could have gotten kicked out of it. They could have been asked to leave. They usually have a desire, or it's just the way that the stars aligned, that they were taken away from the group that raised them. It's a little similar to the 9th house, except it is slightly different. This house has more to do with groups and organizations. And so I want you to think about spiritual groups, educational groups, maybe cliques, community groups, ethnic groups, tribal groups, men's club, women's group, AA, environmental groups, political groups, your family group, and even cults and tribes. So think of tribes, organizations. You get the idea. With Pluto here, something went wrong with a group that you opened up to, that you trusted, that you liked, that you believed in, that wanted to teach you, grow you, educate you, and indoctrinate you into. And if you can't relate to this in this particular lifetime, it may be planted in your subconscious from repetitive previous lifetimes. Somehow you came to learn that not all groups come together with these high morals and ideals, and in some way, shape, or form, the group misabused you. You succumb to their messaging only to eventually, or will eventually, see that their imposed system, group system, right? Their group, the methodology and the messaging in their group no longer aligned with you. And you'll feel like you outgrew this original group. This is a house that creates, like the ninth, it creates, but that's philosophical intelligence. This is sort of futuristic intelligence. I want you to think of technology. If you have Pluto here, you probably have an enormous intelligence. And if you have a lot of personal planets here, you probably are very, very bright. And you will have an enormous BS reader, if you will. And eventually you'll probably come to see, if you haven't already, and it will be painful, the truth about a system, a social system that you aligned with, not being healthy, not being enough for you, not being smart enough for you, not being truthful enough for you, not operating with a moral compass enough for you. The group tried to radicalize you, and one day you woke up and you saw the light and you desperately had to break free from it. This group was going to end up not serving you. So you figured out. So what is that group in your life? What did you break free from? Either you were taken from it, you were kicked out, or you escaped it. What group? What circle of people? A group is 3 or more. So be creative in the way that you think about this. Leaving the tribe, leaving the clan, leaving the system that you were indoctrinated into. My friends, that's painful. It's like leaving what you know. It's like leaving your mom, or maybe it's like your mom leaving you. It's painful to jump out of the nest. When you do that, you feel like you're leaping to your death. And how old were you when you had to break free and leave? And how did you break free? Did you move down the street? Did you go live with a grandmother? Did you marry somebody totally different? How did you break free? How did you do it? Tell other people. And if you have a lot of planets in the 11th house, I really do want you to watch my entire Aquarian playlist. You have a big Aquarian piece to your chart, even if you've got Cancer in this house. It doesn't matter what sign you have. The answer is not to reject all groups and just be an independent lone wolf living in a shack all by yourself like the Unabomber. No, but you'll be tempted to do that. You'll be tempted to say, never again. Nope, nope, nope. I'm never again going to be indoctrinated into a group. Nope, for I know it's only going to be the end of me. It's going to betray me. It's not going to align with me. I don't do groups. Nope, I'm an individual. I'm unique. It's true that you're going to need to detach from the organizations or the groups that are no longer healthy for you, and get independent and find your own self and individuate from the group, from consensus thinking. Develop your own unique belief system. Grow your massive intelligence. Find your unique expression of your own self. Find your own creativity and do life not the way they told you to do it, not by their system or their structure, but on your own terms, in your own way, which you'll probably be called derogatory things when you do that, like, good luck with that dumb idea of yours, right? I gave up my corporate job in New York City to go teach English in Czechoslovakia. It was one country at that time, for 75 cents an hour. Yeah. because the corporate world in New York City had me chained to golden handcuffs, and it no longer aligned with my belief system. I didn't want security that badly. So I had to leave that group. It was too stifling. And people were like, good luck. I don't know how you're going to eat. Or, you're going to hear things like that. You're going to hear, don't be weird. Okay, good luck. Face your consequences. Bye. When you break away from the group, they don't like you. They're jealous and envious, maybe. Or maybe they think you're a joke. Feeling locked in and being locked into that group will ultimately feel like it's the higher price to pay. I find a lot of people are really confused about the 11th house. This is the house of hopes and dreams and wishes. Would somebody please tell me what that means? Every single house holds a hope, a dream, and a wish. So the 7th house has a romance wish for the ideal partner, for the ideal love. The 5th house has the dream to hit it big, right? 10th house has a dream for a successful and meaningful place in society, career, and calling. The 4th house has a big, fat, giant dream to build a happy family. So every house has a hope, a dream, and a wish. Let's get truthful about the 11th. Remember, at the core, 11th house people, and with Pluto here, you are a great humanitarian. You care about humanity. Now, it might be on an individual basis. You might not be like, I love the homeless, or no, it could just be you care about people. And with Pluto here, you're probably going to find yourself in a conundrum. And the conundrum is probably going to be a moral one. And it's going to feel like a crisis. It may happen over and over and over again. Why? Because Pluto is here in the humanitarian house. The rebel that's not going to go along with just whatever is sold to you. You're not drinking the Kool-Aid. You're too smart. And with Pluto here, you're going to have X-ray vision. You're going to be the person in the group who calls out the BS. And perhaps you're the Edward Snowden person. Perhaps you're the whistleblower. You're the one who is going to question the morals, the values, the mission statement. Are we aligned with our mission statement? Should we change our mission statement? Are we being what we said we're going to be, or are we not? You're going to basically be, in this lifetime, in some way, shape, or form, the transformer of the group transformer. Yeah. Now, I know many of you just want to cut and run and not deal with any wrongdoings, not deal with conflict, not shining the light on why these Nazis are not morally aligned with what is truly right for humanity. That is what lives inside of you down deep. Now, it might not be that big. It might be on a tiny scale. It might be just working with a feral cat that comes to visit you, right? And seeing the humanity in giving that feral cat milk. You probably will be the person who can see why a company is corrupt, or why something is not right. Why it's not right to segregate people, why it's not right to have certain people sit at the back of the bus, why it's not right to oppress other humans. You are the humanitarian. Why it's not right to use this type of fuel because it pollutes our oceans. Why it's not right to feed people poison to get them sick, to keep them addicted to medicine so pharmaceutical drug companies can prosper. Okay, you get me? Are you feeling me? Now, again, it might not go that big. It might just be within the confines of your smaller world. I guarantee you there is a great transformer in you for groups and organizations that are not doing it right. And perhaps you don't yet know this about yourself. But one problem that can really be painful is you can end up leaving one group because its desire to dominate or its archaic messaging is god awful, only to go and find another group that has a new face with the same exact issues. So it's very similar to the 9th house, except it's about humanity and groups and organizations. It's not about a belief system that you're indoctrinated into. Although it could be, that could overlap. The 9th house is a philosophical house. So it's about the belief systems placed on you. This is literally about the people. So you could find yourself in a new group with yet the same exact issues, but expressed in a more modern or more unconventional way. Don't beat yourself up if this has happened to you again. And again, it will be tempting to alienate, but, and please listen to me. being alone and being just like a lone wolf, attaching to no one, while as tempting as that may be, while it feels unburdensome and freeing, it's not exactly where the remedy lies with this placement. Just like I talked about the 4th house being the remedy for the 10th house, and how I also talked about how the 4th house just wants to curl up into a cave and just stay with the covers pulled up over them and not come out to see the day of light, or how the 7th house, just the more comfortable thing is to never try love again, right? Going at it totally alone might feel more comfortable for you, but that's not where the remedy lies. You, my friend, are a social creature, and you are here to help humanity. Even if it's just a small, tiny slice of humanity, you're here to help them grow and evolve and expand and find the moral high road. Do not waste your big, beautiful, giant, smart, intellectual brain on just yourself. You need to share it with a group that actually does deserve you. You just have to be discerning and find it. Your unique perspective is meant to diplomatically empower and advance humanity. Share it. We couldn't have even gotten equal voting rights for women had it not been for some 11th house Pluto, probably. We couldn't have gotten rid of the lawful segregation that existed in this society that is so disgusting without you shining the light on the horror that was happening. We couldn't have landed a rover on Mars without the group putting the plan together. We couldn't have advanced society in so many ways without teams of scientists and groups and organizations working together as one. We can't do our world's greatest work if we aren't in teamwork. We can't even clean up an oil spill without a team of people, right? We can't put together a Broadway musical without actors and a director and a production staff. And you got it? You are here to work within a group, an organization. We couldn't have won World War II without a group. We couldn't educate all of our children on the planet without teams of teachers. You feel me? Lead the group. Shine the light on the things that need moral adjustments, need technological advancements, need inventiveness, need to be reinvented, if you will, need improvement. Don't give up, don't alienate, even though I know you want to. Now, in evolutionary astrology, remember, you look to the opposite house to heal the house in which Pluto is in. So we got to look at the 5th house. So if you've got planets in the 5th house, those are a healing agent for you to use. And if not, I want you to study the 5th house. Go watch my Leo playlist to study where the polarity point is for Pluto and learn about the 5th house so you can learn about the things you need to do to incorporate into your 11th house group activities. So here's an idea to start with. Either after you left the group or you got kicked out of the group or you were alienated from the group. Open up your heart. That's what the 5th house does. It is very painful to be inside of a group that no longer functions well, and having to leave it or having been alienated or ostracized by it, kicked out. It is very, very painful. It feels rejection to the core. And with the 5th house here, you're supposed to find the courage to express yourself and to be creative and to create loudly and boldly within this group and be unafraid to attach, to love, to find the inspiration and the reason why you should attach. So the guy who's working on the rover to put on Mars, I pretty much guarantee you he's found love in that project. He wouldn't be doing it. He wouldn't have been selected had he not found love for it, right? So find love in your great works that you do with groups of people. That's the key. That is your key. Find the things that you love to do and then attach to healthy enough groups that deserve you to help advance them to ultimately benefit mankind and the world. So basically, I want to say, find your heart, open up your heart, move the people in the organizations or the groups that you're working with them, stir up the creative juices, stir up the connectiveness, fall in love with your passions, and take the group, which you will then end up taking the world into a better place. And you can also do that just by being your very best self. Leave me a comment and tell me if you, in fact, can relate. We're going to talk about the 12th house now. And let's all say a little prayer that I can move you deeply when I describe Pluto in the 12th house. Let's also pray that I can find the words to describe this placement, because this is very esoteric and this is very deep. I also want to say, if anyone, especially on YouTube, has made you feel badly about this placement or horrible, or like this is a great self-undoing, I want you to throw out their books and never watch their videos ever again, please. Yes, this is a hard placement. Every placement with Pluto is hard. Pluto is hard, okay? Just Pluto anywhere is awful. None of us like living in a hell only to dig ourselves out from under the rubble. Every house has a different theme song playing, okay? This is hard because that is, in fact, what Pluto is about. But this is not a death sentence. This is not an annihilation placement. And most of all, I want to tell you, do not wish for another placement if this is, in fact, your placement. This placement will have you deeply, deeply in touch with the collective suffering on the planet and the suffering inside of others and the suffering of yourself. But great things can grow out of that. These people can, if this is you, you probably can relate. You can become paralyzed with compassion for others who suffer. You can also become the world's greatest healers. Stay with me because I want to unravel this with you with honesty, with truth, and with depth. I just hope I can do it justice. Before I say anything else, I just want to say, if you guys really want to understand your chart, book a reading with either myself or somebody on my team at Team Soul Navigation. It is invaluable. I once had this gentleman tell me that a reading, a really good astrology reading that I had given him, this was a very long time ago, was more than he got out of 17 years worth of therapy. It was the nicest compliment I've ever received. That's why I remember it. And if you work with a great astrologer or a great reader, and I consider the readers on my team phenomenal, they will help you so much understand your astrology placements, your charts, your life, your karmic contract, your karmic calling, the destiny of your soul, the truth about yourself underneath the surface, the places that are hard to see, right? Book a reading with someone at Soul Navigation. They're filled with love and compassion and goodness, and it's so rewarding. It's enlightening, actually. And also, I want to say thank you for letting me be on your journey of deep self-discovery. And I hope that you're also discovering truths about the loved ones in your life. Okay, let's go on. This is the biggest house in the chart. The 9th house is the second biggest house, but this is the biggest house. This is the terrain of the infinite. This is the cosmos. And it's a hard house to grasp. And no one else quite says it this way. I've never heard it said this way, but I say this is the house of the intangibles, everything that you cannot touch. This is not a house of the concrete. You cannot materialize this house. You cannot grasp the things in this house with your hands. Like the 5th house, you can grasp money. The 2nd house, you can grasp beautiful things, right? The 1st house, you can grasp your own body. The 12th house, it's about faith, compassion, empathy, forgiveness, right? The intangibles. This is also the house of transcendence. This is where we transcend our egos, where we transcend our bodies on earth, and where we meet God and the spirit world. Now, do you have Pluto here? Please leave me a comment if you do. I want to know your story. Now, if you have Pluto here and it's within 5 degrees of the ascendant, of your ascendant, I want you to also listen to my part 1 Pluto video series, Pluto in the 1st house, because you may relate more to that house, but you may need to blend both, the 12th house meaning and the 1st house meaning, but they are so vastly different. I want you to listen to both. And I started with the 1st house and I'm ending with the 12th. So tell me which one you relate more to. If you have Pluto within 5 degrees, not 10 degrees, not 6 degrees, not 7 degrees. I get a lot of those questions. When I say 5, people ask me, well, what about 6? No, not 6. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 6, 7, 8, Sesame Street. This is the house of divine love, of compassion and transcendence. And with Pluto here, there is this intrinsic feeling of loss. Perhaps it's a lost soul feeling or a loss of self in this vast world. The perpetual question of who am I? I don't know. Right? There can be a feeling of loss of control too. Pluto here will deepen your ability to empathize with others, to feel the pain that other people feel, to merge with the hardships of all living creatures, animals, plants, people, Mother Earth, the world, the air. You, my friend, will feel so deeply that you will open up your heart to the suffering like no other soul can do. You will see the virtues in people also when others see none. You will see the prostitute on the street and you will not judge her in negativity, in vileness that others will. You, my sweet friend, will feel her pain and you will have sorrow for her. You will see the sadness in the soul of the movie star that everyone else is envious of. You will ache for the enemy and you will agonize for their victim. You will hurt for the criminal that didn't mean to do it. And you will pray for the person they destroyed, even though you don't know either one of them personally. Are you starting to feel what I'm speaking of? Let's go deeper. I actually don't even think as a human, and without having this placement, I'm capable of even going deep enough. But you, my friends, I'm going to try for you. I actually have Jupiter here, not Pluto. And so Jupiter is going to help me get through the definition of this placement inside of you. And so if you do have a lot of planets in the 12th house, you will be able to relate to this. And if you have Jupiter there, wherever you have Jupiter, this placement is exaggerated for you, except it doesn't live in the shadow side of the placement like Pluto does. So we got to go a little darker. But if the 12th house goes awry, even if you have your sun sign there, it's going to feel like this Pluto placement. This has nothing to do with doing something for achievement. This has everything to do with becoming something, becoming a vessel of unconditional love for yourself, for life, for others, becoming an empathetic listener, becoming an expression of acceptance for all. This is about becoming a compassionate soul on earth. This is about becoming the definition of compassion for others. How? By standing in the shoes of other people, by opening up your mind, your heart, and your arms for another. By the way, my Jupiter in the 12th is giving you a big fat hug right now. This is about awareness. There is usually a self-sacrifice with this placement, but it doesn't have to be a sacrifice where you completely sell out. However, it does go there sometimes. You have to be aware. You have got to develop good boundaries with this placement because this placement can just eat you up with angst and anxiety. Developing an awareness of the hurts, the aches, and the pains in the world. And Pluto is surely going to show them to you. And you are a sensitive soul that will have a very, very hard time witnessing the suffering in the world. That is for sure. But I'm going to tell you, you will not be protected from seeing those hurts. You will not. That is part of your journey. So between 0 and 14, you probably saw or felt or witnessed too much suffering. Your bandwidth was flooded. It hurt too much. You couldn't handle it. And it was hard. It was excruciating. And so what did you do? You probably shut it all down. You probably shut off your ability to see or connect, or maybe even love. You probably completely went into a cave. And you may have even used substances to escape the burdens of the suffering that you witness, or you used your massively wild imagination to escape as a boundary, to put a barrier up. You probably could not cope or deal with something extraordinarily painful in your life between 0 and 14. And if you can't relate to this and you just automatically did this, then that comes from previous lifetimes. And that's evolutionary astrology. You probably cried in secret. And you probably really, really struggled with the pain that you saw and the pain that you felt. And you felt the pain of other people. You felt your own pain too, but you have maybe merged the two. Their pain became your pain. If your pet suffered, you suffered. You didn't know one from the other. They were intertwined. You may have sequestered yourself or secluded yourself, or you may have literally given yourself amnesia, remembering only part of the story, half the story, or the good part of the story. But you did that so you would not become flooded and overwhelmed with emotion. And if you did have emotion, it probably was too big, too intense, too much, and you were probably called dramatic. So you started to cut it off. With Pluto here, the collective pain, the pain of others can be so great that in the child that you just can't even navigate it. And then it may have been so great you couldn't even navigate your own life. And so you may have drifted away from that depth of feeling or that compassion, that love, and that empathy, because anytime you stepped into it, it was too much. So you might have become really tough and just stopped feeling, and you may have even shut down your heart. Or there's the other way where you just stayed so sensitive to it all that you have to alienate in order to deal with life. I don't blame you. You could use drugs or comedy or art or imagination or anything to cloister away from other people, because you learned that other people brought you this pain. So if you didn't have any attachments, then maybe the pain would go away. Alienation becomes the coping mechanism, or sleep. I've seen people with this placement sleep their life away. But the pain that you felt like a death, a living death. And so you wanted to do anything to escape that feeling. And so I would like to say it's not like Aquarius where it's detachment. It's more like disassociation. It can be very, very destructive, and it can include this deep self-undoing that a lot of people talk about. And it can even become criminal. You can steal. You can even have, suicidal thoughts and Great Depression, and you can have extraordinarily bad boundaries with others. That's another way that you can self-destruct. But to go a little deeper, the 12th house Pluto person can over-attach to someone or something, or even a perspective, in order to not see the broader, bigger truth, because inside those truths live pain, suffering, and agony, right? So there is this unusual self-protective mechanism where they can over-attach to another person to protect themselves from seeing and feeling their own pains, right? So they just live within yours, which are probably easier to manage than their own. They do anything they can to protect themselves from seeing or feeling the deep, hard, painful, gory truths about life that loom large, the disgusting parts of life that cause sheer agony to self and to others. So they lose themselves in the delights or in the life of other people or animals. They can literally lose themselves in the needs of their 12 cats. Do you have 12 cats? Do you have animals? With Pluto in the 12th house, most people here have animals to connect to, so they can escape pain. Can you relate to this? Leave me a comment and let me know. This is a coping mechanism. Then what happens when they do this? When they overattach to an animal or a person or a belief or some sort of drug or alcohol or something, they overattach to something to lessen the pain. They completely lose themselves in that thing. And if you have a lot of planets here, you will overattach to something, get dependent on it as your panacea, as a healer, as a great healing agent. It's going to backfire on you. It's not going to heal you. It's not going to separate you from the pain. It's going to give you a different kind of pain. And it's a perpetual cycle. What happens is when you do the bottle or you do the drug or you do the animal or you do the pet, you stop doing you. And the point is to get back to the truth of you. So what can happen to these people is that their innate sense of the world or life or the ideal or themselves gets so crushed. They get so devastated by life's circumstances and what has happened to the world or themselves that they become completely lost in just trying to manage their pain. They can become aimless. They can wander through life looking for meaning, or maybe not looking for anything meaningful at all, because the attachment has become so painful. And when they have created a dream and it got swept away, it can create a depth of disillusionment and devastation that they now associate with the devastation of that dream. And of course, I pray this hasn't happened to you. Can you imagine the pain of this placement when there is such disillusionment with what was supposed to be? It's hard. These people get so exhausted by life sucking them dry, by life's disappointments, I should say, just sucking them dry, where they just have lost a faith. This is at the darkest level, okay? So this can go on a continuum scale. So maybe you felt a little bit of this, but not all of it. And I pray you haven't felt all of this, but you'll have to evaluate where this has existed for you on your journey in life. They can feel really used by people using their goodness. These people usually do have such an angelic goodness inside of them that they get taken advantage of very, very easily. That's why I say you have to have good boundaries with this placement. And they can feel truly overextended. Like I said, said, they just want to sleep through their days. They can feel overextended because they can have so much empathy and compassion for other people. People use that. Can you relate? If one can remember faith, keeping your faith in yourself, in life and in others, it is so critical and so important here. Being able to forgive yourself for your self-undoings, for not showing up when you should have shown up because it was too painful to do so. It is so critical. Remember, we all make mistakes, and we all make terrible mistakes too. Have you never made a terrible mistake? I've made so many terrible mistakes that I've just hated myself for them. With Pluto in the 12th house, it's very difficult for a person with this placement to forgive themselves for their mistakes and for the terrible mistakes that they've made. Very difficult. So forgiveness is a key here. If you can remember that having faith in yourself and in God and in spirit and the universe and in the power of surrendering your guilt and your shame, surrender that and have the faith that things will be okay. Things will remedy themselves. Things will come full circle. You will heal and have hopefulness. That is what leads to real resolutions. There is deep, deep, deep spiritual growth, spiritual wisdom. This placement can even create the guru and the sage if you're willing to restore your faith again in humanity, in life, in the cosmos, in the world, and especially in you. Pull yourself out of the darkness and take one positive step towards creating that growth in you, restoring that faith. Remember to search for the silver lining or even the meaning that is inside of those challenges, those pains. Find the meaning, find the higher meaning. I promise you there is some meaning in them. Transcend your own pain. Remember, this is the House of Transcendence, and the definition of transcendence is existence or experience beyond the normal physical material level. It's hard to not become devastated by the dream you created and then the reality you showed up. And managing this disappointment is your big key in life, and finding faith in the gap of I landed here, but I wanted this. Transcend the pain of that gap when that occurs and appreciate what you have right now and spin gold from this. Don't be devastated by what's missing. Don't be devastated by this. Don't let this eat you up alive and make you over-attach to something outside of yourself. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to this dream. You cannot save everyone. Save yourself first. Save yourself first around managing your disappointments, and then work with those who you can actually help that are willing to meet you halfway through the process. You can't do it all. You can't save a person. They have to put some skin in the game. Now you're here to integrate and merge your soul's identity with the higher meaning of life, with the world, with the universe, with God, right? With spirit, with the angels, with heaven, whatever you believe in, with the creator, and go big into the world and make meaning out of your existence. Make meaning out of your pain. Turn your pain into art. You are a portal. You are a conduit for the collective. We need to look at the 6th house to truly understand the healing remedy. That's what we do in evolutionary astrology. And you guys know your oppositions? I want to tell you right here, if you really want to learn how to read a natal chart, go to my website and click on the Learn Astrology tab and go purchase my masterclass. And I teach you how to go so deep into reading your chart. You will love it. You will love it. You will learn so much from that class. I cannot tell you enough. Anyways, you will love it, and you will learn how to see your way through the entire wheel. So look to the 6th house, and the 6th house is asking you to create a deep personal transformation by implementing a routine, a pragmatic system, maybe a daily practice to become loyal to that helps you build your fantasy, your wish, your desire, your dream, right? Step by step, day by day. And the 6th house wants you to bring that spiritual crusade into a grounded reality on a daily basis. So develop a spiritual awareness and then live it out, a spiritual awareness of universe, of God, of life after life, of where the soul lives, right? On earth and in heaven, on your creator, what you believe in, where did we come from? Where are we going? What are we doing? The existence of man, right? And to somehow, the remedy lies into somehow integrating your spiritual belief system into daily life to assist others without losing yourself, to inspire, to uplift, to love, to most of all forgive, and to have compassion for another person's shortcomings, and especially those who have hurt people. And I should say, for those who are suffering from being hurt by others. I should say for all living creatures, having that compassion for everyone, seeing us as all one. That is the highest form of love a person can have. When you come from that place for yourself and for others, that's when you make good things happen. And that is how you dig out of Pluto's hole, Pluto's wound. Don't be tempted to just live inside of a fantasy to escape Pluto's pain. It won't work. You need to become pragmatic with your awakening, if you will, transcending your pain, making meaning out of it, and helping others too without losing yourself. This was my Pluto through the houses. Next, we're going to do Pluto aspects. So I hope all my members are coming to my astrology party. Bring your Pluto questions, bring your charts. I'm going to answer your questions. It's free for anybody who is a super supporter or a superstar supporter, and I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. And if this party has already passed by the time you're watching the video, I will have another, and all my members get to come to my astro parties for free. But bring your Pluto questions. Also, ring the little bell and subscribe, because I'm going to be going live soon, and I'm going to be reading Pluto in your charts on a live stream, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time every single Sunday. I'm right here, and I can't wait to continue this Pluto journey with you. From my house in Seattle to wherever you are in the world, I wish you the very, very best. Take good care.